Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Khantehnt. We've got bonus episodes available right now, everybody, for only 10 easy payments of $10 total on Subscribestar. A bunch of bonus episodes. Go check them out, everybody. Khantehnt!
旅人のイレイナです。旅人ですから、旅をしています。
So, Majo no Tabitabi, episodes 2 through 7. We watched the first episode of this for the big seasonal roundup.
Yeah.
It was probably the show that I was the most excited about based on its first episode because it's about an adorable witch. She has a cool training sesh in the first episode. What I did not expect is that this is a traveler show.
It sure is.
I should have known from the title, being Tabitabi,
Yeah.
journey, I think. But, it's along the lines of Kino no Tabi, Kino's journey, or Aru Tabibito no Nikki, the traveler's diary, in that it's about each episode she's in a new place.
It's like the exact same shit. This is about like a diary and traveling and writing and reading from a diary, so original.
It's got a little bit of a King of Bandits Jing vibe in it as well. I mean, this was like a type of show that I feel like used to be a lot more common. So it is kind of interesting to be like, oh yeah, like a traveler show. Been a while, flying around a magical world. As for like the quality of the individual stories, which is always what it's going to come down to.
Right.
It's all over the place.
Dare I say, Kino-less journey.
Kino-less journey.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go quite that far. It has not been bad the whole time. It's a bit
exceedingly strange. This is a weird fucking show because so episode 2 stays within the realm of what you would probably have expected from episode 1. She goes to do some more witch training.
Character building and stuff.
She meets this other witch who's not good.
Saya.
Helping her out. Saya.
It's just lesbian bait.
Yeah,
That's all this is about.
Not even bait.
No, it's just
gay.
Straight up gay. Gayest I've ever seen.
Saya's deeply in love with Elaina, and
And not only that, every facet of Saya's motivation as a character is built around how gay she is for Elaina.
It's pretty fucking preposterous. All she that is her character, is in love with Elaina, following her around.
Yeah, that's it.
Or trying to follow her around. So she steals Elena's pendant secretly to boost her magical power so that she can spend more time with her. When Elaina finds out, she's like, "Fuck you! Here's a hat like mine. Leave me alone."
Just to go back on that point, the actual plot elements are this girl Saya. Okay, she had a sister. They were both trained to be apprentice witches in this town. Out of the fucking blue, Saya decides one day, I'm so fucking lonely. I'm gonna find the first witch I see and steal her pendant, not so I can keep them here to learn from, because I'm so lonely. That is her explicit motivation, and it happens to work out that she meets a cute girl like Elaina and stuff.
But the scene where the way this episode culminates in a scene where the two of them are sleeping together at an inn, and Elaina finds out that she's like, I know you've got
Saya's
the pendant.
trying to fuck, by the way, this whole scene, no doubt about it.
Elena's like, I know you've got my pendant, bitch. Just admit it. Look, you've done okay. I'll give you a hat. And then Saya hugs her and is like, I'll pay for everything.
Yeah.
She feels so bad about what she's done, but at the same time, she's gotten so much emotional catharsis because she actually got a hat and got to hug her that she's like, I feel like she's basically a simp, pay pig who she could.
She is a pay pig. I kind of feel like this is actually a mistake by Elaina, because she must know how much she's encouraging this behavior in this delusional, fucking unhinged kind of person.
I mean, it helps that Elaina is herself self-obsessed. She thinks she's the greatest in the world.
When thinking of what lie could she possibly say that would challenge whether or not she can tell a lie, it's, I'm not beautiful. Nope, can't say that. I am beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. We'll get to that later, though.
Yeah, so, I guess that's the first odd...
by the way, and her intro to every episode, who's that beautiful figure flying over the fields? It's me, the Ashen Witch Elaina.
So
fucking bitch.
That's the first
more like flying bitch, am I right, boys? Pew, 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 pew. Yeah.
The fact that our main character is, her whole personality is that she's, just conceited and full of herself. And,
it's kind of endearing.
But she basically, she has a very similar kind of, persona to, did you ever see, Jitsuwa? No. What's the name of it? I can't remember the Japanese name.
Watashi wa?
No, not that one.
I don't know.
Jinrui wa suite shimashita. Humanity has declined.
Oh, I heard of it, never saw it.
Yeah, the main girl from that has a kind of similar demeanor to this one, but like Elena's not as smartly written or like has as many good lines, so it just she does kind of just come off as like a conceited brat who is.
Yeah, I kind of like it, honestly. I kind of like what an asshole she is a lot of the time.
Well, it becomes really interesting. So when we get to episode 3, the first half of this episode, this is the story. Elena's flying around. She lands in a field of flowers because she sees a lady, and the lady's like, "Oh, take some flowers with you." And she's like, "Oh, they're so beautiful." So she takes this bouquet, and then she goes to this kingdom or whatever, and the guard at the front is like, "Don't bring that shit in here. There's flowers that like take over people's minds that have overrun this town."
Only people with magic can resist it, and they're all wearing gas masks, notably. Yeah.
So one of the guards like takes the bouquet from her and like walks away with it. She finds out about this thing that's going on. Then basically she finds out like, oh, that guard's sister had gone missing.
Right.
So she then finds the guard having wandered out into the field of flowers, gone insane, thinks a flower is his sister, and then she leaves him to die, and that's the end.
See, that was the moment when I was like, what am I supposed to feel about this character
It's exactly
right now?
what I felt.
She is, any normal anime character would at least make an attempt to do something. I don't feel that guy was even that far gone. She is a witch. That man was savable. She was like, I'm a libertarian, man. That's on you. Non-aggression principle. Don't violate the NAP on me, bro. I'm out of here.
She literally doesn't say anything. She's just like, oh, well.
I thought that was
She killed that guy.
Cold.
She
Shockingly.
killed that guy. She gave him those flowers.
Okay.
She brought in the forbidden substance that wasn't supposed to
and
be
that's
there.
the other thing. It was literally her fault. It
Yeah.
was 100% her fault for breaking their fucking rules. This is why people don't let outsiders come into their town, because they do shit like this and they fuck up. And then, how'd you like the ending shot as we pull away? She's just outie. She's leaving the town. We see all these zombies marching toward the town. That town is fucking done, clearly, and it's all Elena's fault, and she just leaves.
Yeah, fuck it.
Japan was right. Close the borders. Build the wall. Commodore, whatever the Perry, get the fuck out of here. Don't come to our country and start you will fucking destroy our nation. I was very surprised that was the direction the story took.
It goes to the second half of the episode, which the second half of the episode similarly goes in a weird route. So
this one wasn't her fault though.
She shows up with some people and they have a slave girl.
Yep.
And it's the dad's an asshole who bought a slave just because whatever. And then the son is in love with the slave girl.
Yeah.
And so the way this episode resolves is that son tells slave girl hey, look, I'm going to take care of you. You're not going to be a slave. You're going to live with me or whatever, right?
Well, you'll still be a slave. But we'll hang out, you know?
And then Elena just kind of leaves after that. And then she tells a story about how she's oh, I once heard about this woman who was in a similar situation. She killed herself. So I don't know what happened to that slave girl, but
I don't want to know, frankly.
I don't want to know. She probably killed herself. That's it. That's the meditation we're about to get. The lesson of the episode was her takeaway was, well, it'll probably not be good enough. She'll probably be miserable forever because she's a slave.
The lesson of the show is life sucks, scum fuck. That's the message of the journey of Elaina. Now, okay, to be fair, it was at this point that I realized, okay, we're doing Grimm's fairy tales. That's what the show is. We're getting her perspective, which is actually, this is very similar, again, to Kino's journey, where very similar stuff like this happened in Kino's journey.
But Kino's journey was a little bit more thoughtful and contemplative and classy about it. Where
I agree.
This show started getting better to me when it started getting funnier. And we'll talk about that when we get there, I guess. Because episode 4 is about, she shows up in a kingdom where there's just ashes falling from the sky and the whole place is fucked.
The princess without subjects.
Yes. She meets a princess who has amnesia. Long story short, she fell in love with a baker and got pregnant, and the king was not okay with it, so he had the baker killed. So she wished a curse on the kingdom.
And the baby killed.
Yes.
Which is even more hardcore, but all right.
Yeah, so she got pissed off and said, "Oh, how will you like it, King, when everything's taken away from you?" And turned him into a dragon so he would kill everybody else.
Yep.
And then she kills the dragon in a badass fight, by which I mean she just literally like throws beams at it for like several solid minutes of just throwing shit at this dragon, destroying it gleefully.
I, for the record, I loved that scene, and I loved the setup of this entire little story of the princess. I loved her design. I loved how she's the only character in this bombed out, destroyed city except a demon. I was intrigued, like, what the fuck is going on here, and what is going to be the implication here? And then the actual fight scene, like, it was just a one-sided slaughter after they trapped the demon in this pit. But like the fact that Elaina like helped and Elaina was like really liking this girl, was like, okay, I'm gonna help her if she needs it, was not necessary. This girl is OP as shit.
And then when she learns the truth, she's kind of like, oh well, that's pretty fucked. I guess I'm out of here too. Like you said, the message of the show.
And you know, again, Elaina was involved. She involved herself in this story. She helped the demon, who was the king, get murdered by his own daughter. And yes, he was a bad man who had done bad things, but the way she gets involved, it's like the opposite. You know that meme of Tuxedo Mask comes in, my work here is done, but you didn't do anything, continues to leave. It's like that, only Tuxedo Mask shows up, fucks everything up, and then leaves as if he saved the day. That's what it's like. Because she is responsible for a lot of the bad things that are happening here, but acts like she's not involved whatsoever.
And does not care at all.
And doesn't care.
I'm thinking, like, the two shows this reminds me of the most are probably Kino's Journey and Khantehnt's Sins. And, like, both of those shows, the main character is very solemn. It's like, Kino doesn't really talk much. You know, she just kind of drives a bike. The bike talks. The bike talks more than she does. And Kino's sort of approach to everything is like, I'm just interested in like seeing what's here, you know, and like moving on. Like in Khantehnt, it's like he's kind of trying to help people, but everybody wants to eat him, and like the world is fucked in that show, but you can see like little sparkles of beauty in it. Elena's journey is like the same types of stories that are in those shows, but like she just so doesn't care. She's so like in Kino, she'd be like, oh, well, you know, people sure are shitty, but what can you do? Elaina is just like, haha, you dumb fuck, sure did ruin your country. Bye. Like,
that's exactly how she comes across.
Yeah.
And it's odd. It's odd how fucked some little pockets of the world are and how great and peaceful and nice. Like, they call them countries, but it's just like one town. I guess they're like city-states, basically, or something. Like, you go down the road and the Holocaust is happening, and then on the other side it's Willy Wonka and the chocolate fucking factory, and like some kids are learning to like do their homework on time and shit. Like, this is the duality of the world going on. And Elena's writing them down equally in her notebook. Oh, those are both very interesting stories. How fascinating. God damn, she's cold as fuck.
Episode 5 is like she goes to Magic Town and meets some magic kids who are training under her former teacher.
Yeah.
Honestly, I blanked through most of this. I kind of was like half awake.
Well, this episode was kind of nice. We see Elaina reunite with Fran, the teacher who helped her become a witch, and like we just kind of get the moment of like, oh, they're reunified and they get to hang out. Will Elaina choose to like stay here and become like a teacher? No, Elena's idea is like she wants to journey and go to other stuff. So that's fine, and it's set in the framing device of. Like, there's the book that inspired Elena's journey is this book by, do you remember the name? Nene, or something like that. There's a book about a journey that inspired Elaina to travel, and written by someone, and there is another book that just came out, like The Journeys of Fran or something, that is really popular and famous. And it turns out to be the journal of her teacher that she had lost somewhere, and someone else is published elsewhere because it was found randomly, and she's like, someone's making a killing off this other person's book, which is kind of fucked up. Which I also wondered, this episode made me wonder if the implication is actually that the journey that inspired the Ashen Witch, our main character, is actually her mom, and she's the one who wrote it. Did you get that impression?
It could be. I mean, supposedly the original looks just like her.
Yeah. And it wasn't written that long ago either, so it fits the time frame, I think. I don't know, not much more to it than that.
It's very possible.
But this is one of these Willy Wonka episodes right after like the Holocaust just happened.
There was one line I liked in this when I was going back through it, where because she first shows up in town, and there's all these like magic street performers basically, and there's a part where she's talking to her teacher about like. She's like, everybody who uses magic in this town went to this school. And she's like, even the street performers? And do they make money? And she's like, not very much, but I'm sure they do. But, you know, they do it because they love doing magic. And I was just thinking about, there's this great video I recommend everybody check out by a guy called Zombie TV, spelled with 2 E's, about LARPing. Cultural LARPing, and about all the random like jazz bands that pop up on the side of the streets who are all like people who went to school, like have music degrees, but don't have any like real musical talent, but they want an excuse to play music and feel like they're doing something. So they form street bands so they can like, you know, play pop songs in jazz rendition and get a little bit of money and be like, I'm in a band, I'm playing music, you know, and just made me think about that and have a good laugh to myself.
I really don't know what they were kind of getting at in that, like, in this setup. I guess they were just saying that, like, in this country, everyone uses magic. Isn't that wacky? And again, it's just the weird whiplash between, like, I think the episode before was like, everyone's dead. There's an empty kingdom where a demon slayed everyone. And, like, okay, the lesson there is, like, this Grimm's fable about, like, don't be like an evil, like prejudiced classist father and like not let your daughter pursue love and kill her child and husband, but also don't be like a revenge-seeking asshole daughter, because that's also bad. And we see that she's totally crazy at the end. So, okay, got that. Next episode is magic is fun, everybody, yeah! It's hard to accept both of those from one show. That's all.
Thankfully, from there, we go into what I thought were the 2 best episodes. And this is where the show kind of, like, I feel like it's stopped trying to be, like, edgy fairy tale stories and more just like, let's just have creative, fun stuff. So, episode 6 is a kingdom where nobody can lie.
Yeah.
And Elaina shows up, and everybody's still an asshole because they just won't talk. They're like, well, you know, it turns out that every time we open our mouths, we just piss each other off. Like, it's not just that you can't lie so much as that, like, you're forced to say everything you're thinking. So, like...
Yeah.
Like, if you open your mouth towards somebody, then you will just, like, go through all of the, like, you know, whatever thoughts you're having, including the negative ones, it seems like.
I mean, this is an issue close and a personal one to me, because I a while back just decided I'm not going to lie anymore, because I think it's bad and not good. And I don't know, I don't really blame people for doing it, because there's a lot of white lies out there, but I just don't want to. But, like, ever since making that decision, I've noticed in myself all the times that are, like, not lies, but, and people call it a lie of omission some of the time, but, like, you can, even without telling a single lie, you can manipulate facts, you can skirt around things. That's all totally true. And seeing a kingdom, I mean, I enjoyed this very much, the Socratic exercise
I'll tell you,
here.
I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah.
Great liar by omission.
Right.
It's a great technique.
Yeah, it works like a charm every time. Yeah, don't force yourself. There's so much you can do with that. But seeing a kingdom, and I agree with this. See, I choose not to tell direct lies because I just don't like it, and also it just makes me fucking anxious, and I don't want to do that shit. But it's easy to avoid things, like you said. But in this kingdom, people are forced. They didn't choose this. They are forced to do it, and they fucking hate it. And the result isn't, what the king's noble idea of everyone speaks honestly all the time, and everything's great and pure and good. No, he didn't at all change the instinct of people to, like, cheat each other and compete. They've just stopped talking and found other ways to do it. And,
I mean, like, the first thing Elaina encounters is she goes up to a bread stall, and she's like, oh, is this fresh? And the lady's like, and she's like, cool. And then she eats it, and she's like, this is clearly not fresh.
Awful.
This is terrible. These people are fucked.
I do love that the moral of the story is just fucking lie. Just lie, bro. It's
just
fine.
Fucking lie. And like the reason that there's this no lying spell cast on the town is that a girl who is in love with the king, like did this. A witch who's in love with the king did this like for him. But in doing so, it expended her ability to use magic or speak, and so she was deemed useless and immediately kicked out. Like, she did this hoping the king would like fall in love with her because she did something for him. Absolutely not.
Don't simp, bros. Don't do it. That was funny. I liked it.
And Was that only a half episode?
That was a full episode. That was just like we spent a lot of time experiencing the world. But
When is the Two Halves of the Wall episode?
So the first episode 7 starts with another one of these stories of there's a kingdom separated by wall, and the left people hate the right people. So like we actually get a flashback. It was the traveling witch who wrote the original diary, whoever that mysterious person was, Nene or whatever it was. She had a suggestion. Why not write things on the wall? And basically, it's just a big ploy to get them to fuck up the wall enough that they just decide to tear it down. Haha, epic, pretty cool, whatever. And then part 2 was the legendary grape stomping girl.
This is the best. My favorite segment in the show so far is the stupid grape stomping one, because like, so she shows up in this village. There's that village and this village.
Yep.
Which are separated by, they're on other halves of a road.
Yep.
And they both produce wine, but that village is now marketing it with a hot girl.
Right.
But specifically, it's the idea that she is stepping on the grapes.
It's a fetish appeal.
That she herself personally, there's a word that they have, that's like the sound effect of careful stepping, I guess. So they keep saying like she carefully stepped on the grapes or delicately stepped on them or whatever. And they keep insisting, but yeah, everybody in this town, all the men are foot fetish perverts who are like demanding that Elaina become their
we have to fight fire with fire. We need our own foot fetish girl appeal. So Elaina, you're on deck. Stomp our fucking grapes.
She gets motivated by her, having her feminine pride activated, I guess, when the other girl comes to her. It's like, oh, you're flat and fucking gay,
small,
so fuck you.
Pussy bitch.
And she starts stomping on grapes with no tenderness whatsoever. Definitely not lovingly stepping.
But this has its own niche appeal of the angry eyes grape stepping girl, which is pretty funny.
They didn't point that out. But
I would buy a wine bottle with a big angry anime girl on it.
Well, and through her stepping on the grapes for just a while, she realizes there's no way that that woman is actually stepping on all these grapes.
Right.
You fools. Right. You all seem to have bought this myth, but this is mere advertising. And once she proves that to all of them, they're devastated. And
a fight breaks out.
Yeah, and the scene where Elaine is just walking around drunk, because she came to this place specifically. She's never had alcohol before. She wants to have her first alcoholic beverage. I don't know if this means that she's now like officially old enough to drink, and that's why, or what. Because like
this world, I guess
years
so.
are supposedly passing, and even though everybody like in this episode describes her as like, because the other woman says like, oh, she's like got a childish body. Actually, she is a child, and I'm like, now I'm wondering, is she, like, how old is Elaina supposed to be at this point? She's been on the road for years. She hasn't changed in appearance at all. But yeah, she's just necking wine as grapes pelt her as everybody's fighting around, and it is a great scene. That's the energy I want to have in my life, is getting pelted with grapes as I wander around and drunken stupor. And then she finally ends the fight by just pelting everybody with grapes.
Yeah.
And I guess the two leaders of the villages get married and have a kid. Everything works out great.
And that's it. That's like the great end.
What
they
a happy
just
fucking
stopped
ending
fighting
for once.
I mean, it was nice. It was fine. It was okay. It was wacky.
Me of the super speedy cider squeezy 6000 episode of My Little Pony.
I can see that.
That's what it reminded me of.
It was all right. It was sure another story in this world that was kind of amusing at times.
They're also fucking weird. Like the ones that are funnier stood out to me more because they were more like the idea of the grape stomping contest or the idea of the kingdom where nobody could lie. Those were fun ideas. The Kingdom Where Nobody Could Lie, I felt, was executed well enough to be like a memorable concept where like that's something you could reference back to. Oh, I saw this show where there's a king. In fact, you had referenced it before I even saw it.
That's true.
But like, aside from that, stuff like the even the Ash Kingdom one, like it's not a bad episode, but it was just such a like, what the hell was I supposed to get out of that? You know,
see, that's the problem. The show Kino's Journey and this and other shows like this, they're a bit like a show I really love, Star Trek, in that it's just about a bunch of people or like one dude that we already know, like goes to a totally new situation and does something. So like first, that hinges on two things. One, how much do you like that character who you're following? And two, like how much cool stuff happens in the place they go to. So I don't love Elaina that much for that to compel me, and it doesn't episodically, some are good, some are bad. The Ash episode 1 was probably my favorite because I thought that setup was really cool. But like all the other ones were either like really abrupt, like, oh, Elaina sure did ruin this village and everyone died, and I guess the lesson is don't trust a hoe. Don't trust an outsider. So, I didn't get much out of those personally.
I mean, really, like when Saya came back in the episode about the truth-telling kingdom, and like it really is hammered home that like her personality is just obsessed with Elaina. That was when I kind of was like, okay, like again, this show survives better as a comedy show because it's not taking its characters seriously. Like they're not very realistic. They're not very deep. They're they don't really give that much of a fuck. So like it's, and Saya doesn't really give a fuck either. Like all she cares about is Elaina to the point of she's like kind of oblivious to other things going on around her. So like both of them don't really care about the situation. So it's better. I think this show would be better if it was more like Humanity Has Declined, which I kind of compared Elaina to, where like that show has a similar kind of like wacky world where all kinds of crazy magical stuff can happen, and there's like a darker tinge to it, but it's more focused on being like inventive and crazy and like making sure the actual scenarios are interesting. And in this show, they're kind of generic. I've heard a lot of these kinds of stories before, like you said, they're Grimm's fairy tales, and like there's nothing about the presentation that's so exceptional that it would be like, oh, I'd choose this over another one, like there's nothing that special about the, I don't know, maybe somebody else who, maybe if you really connect with Elaina as a character, you'll like the show, but who would?
Who is a journeyer who travels around just to, like in Star Trek, they have a mission. Elena's mission is just go places and write about it. So it really hinges on what happens in the places she goes to.
And what happens is only somewhat interesting some of the time. So,
That's right.
Overall, this show, like, I'd probably give it like at this point, like a strong 5 to a light 6. And that's disappointing compared to my initial impressions. Like, I want it to be, if every episode was as good as the good episodes, it could be like a 7 out of 10. But like, again, episode 3, both halves, no idea what I was supposed to take away from that. It's just a bunch of dark, weird, fucked shit that happened. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
for someone who's like, I don't know, if you're reading your kids like a bedtime fairy tale story, you want to creep them out, like, I guess this is the show for you. Some of the time, not all of the time, but I don't think it hits my strike zone.
Well, we'll see what happens as it wraps up. There are some like there are lingering questions. I don't know if it'll like try to end with a finale. Like, is this an anime original? Is this based on anything?
I think it's based on a book, but I could be wrong. I'm not
sure. So if it's based on a book, then it might be like a ongoing series of adventures. I guess we'll find out.
I'm ready to drop this sucker personally. I don't know if we need to. Hey, let us know if you care or what you think about the future.
I guess it'll depend on the view count on this video.
It does.
If this video doesn't get like 5,000 views, then we're probably just not going to even bother with doing another half of it. I'll watch the rest of it and let you know what I thought.
Yeah, all right.
I was let down, like initially, like watching episode 2, I already was kind of like, I don't know if I care that much. This character's not that interesting. Episode 3, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Episode 4, I was like, all right, that was kind of a neat story. Episode 5, I was like, I don't know if I care anymore. This character's not that interesting. And then 6 and 7 kind of, I was like, all right, this is like King of Bandits Jing, but not as inventive or fun.
Elaina, if you're not going to give a shit, why should we?
Exactly.
Anyway, that's it for this episode, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Go to our Subscribe Star page, pledge $10 for all the bonus episodes we've got so far, and we've got some other fun features for you, everybody. Why not go to our Discord down below, talk about the shows we're talking about with other viewers. It's a happening scene, and submit your own Khantehnt clips for the end bumper of the episode. Do this, goddammit. I know you're thinking about it. Just do it. Give us like a 10, 15-second clip of you going, Khantehnt, out in the world, doing something fun. I really want to get someone skydiving. That's my dream. Someone go skydive and have someone film you saying Khantehnt.
You're really hoping like for a really fast turnaround.
I do want a
skydiving clip.
That's the dream. That's my gold standard. Anyway,
put yourselves out there.
We already did one of a guy with a cat and stuff. He had a fat pussy. So go whip out your fat pussy and do a Khantehnt clip for us at the end of these episodes here. Submit it either on Twitter at Khantehnt with the hashtag Khantehnt clips, or in the Discord chat of the same name on the Discord. And that's it, everybody. And we'll see you next time on another fucking episode. Khantehnt! Roll 'em. Khantehnt!